how do you feel about aging? Now, it's a really important thing to get clear on. So think about it. How do you feel? How do you think about aging? So welcome to tonight's episode of Super Aging. I'm Marianne from One Life to Flourish. I'm a wellness coach and healer. And I am really passionate about helping people, especially women, find the magic in their midlife and then set themselves up with the focus and the purpose and the passion to carry them through as they age really well and be super agers. All right, I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping. So first of all, if you know someone who might find this topic useful, please do a little invite using the arrow that should be somewhere down below me. Now we're also going live to a number of locations. Now, hopefully there's a link up above me to the location where I am so I can see your comments, which is My Time TV Live if you are looking for me. All right, let's get back to the question. So how do you feel about aging? Do you feel positive about it when you think about it? Do you have a really good idea of how you want to live and be during the second half of your life? Now, chances are that you maybe don't feel that positive about aging. Now, I'm basing this on the fact that there was a recent, very large survey by WHO, H-O-W, that surveyed somewhere around 83,000 people across 57 different countries. And surprise, surprise, the end result was finding that older people are just not very respected. I think we kind of knew that, but there's somewhere around 60% or more the more affluent the country actually is. So the reality is that we are living in a world that discriminates against the elderly. Ageism is everywhere. We kind of have this fixation on youth, worshipping the beautiful, young, smooth skin, perfect bodies, those kinds of people. And for some reason, just when we, kind of get to an interesting point in our age and start to get a few wrinkles, but we've got a whole lot of wisdom and life knowledge and all of those kinds of things, that's when people go, oh, you've got no value now. So over a number of decades, ageism has actually become deeply embedded into our society. And this is not a good thing. Basically, there's been a number of researchers, studies, whatever, that kind of thing, after the last few years that find that it is not a good thing. And unfortunately, our media kind of feeds into it. You think about pretty much any story you have seen recently around old people, except maybe when I can think of the Australian man who turned, 111 years old. That was kind of a bit celebratory, but most of it's about how terrible it is being in nursing homes, how you're going to get this sickness, you're going to have that happen to you. It's just really negative. So, there's a lot of things that make us feel really uncertain about aging. The question is, what other option have we got other than aging? Aging is a natural process. If we're not aging, what's happening? The only other choice we've got is to actually not be here to age. So I'd rather be here, even if I am getting older. So really, I think it's important for us to try and challenge some of these attitudes towards aging, because they have a really, really negative impact on people who are elderly. They're made to feel like they're a burden, like they're just less valuable. They've got less worth in our society. They kind of lose their purpose and their focus for life. And naturally, that leads them to be more likely to have depression. Who wouldn't be if that's how you're feeling? and also to just feel isolated from society. I was watching something on the news earlier of a man who, forget what age he was, but maybe in his 80s or something like that, who was attacked by a neighbour when he went and took some money out at the ATM, was totally robbed, and now he's too scared to leave his home. So he's being socially isolated because of this fear, because that's the way that we're treating people. So I think we need to kind of go, nah, enough. All right, let's dig a little bit more, though, into this negative view of aging. So obviously society's got it. It then kind of filters through to each of us. So, I know I used to have a very negative view around aging. I'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit further through. So have a think about it. Do you hold a negative view of aging? Because if you do, if you're not looking forward to it, if you see it as being a time of, being really, really sick, really isolated, whatever, then you're actually going to find yourself more likely to have that stuff happen. So you're going to have a much harder time recovering from any sicknesses or disabilities that you actually get. You're going to have a much higher chance of experiencing ill health, and you basically can expect to live around, on average, about 7.5 years less than someone who has a more positive attitude towards the age that they are. So what can we do? I'm all about some solutions. So with this one, just check your thoughts and your beliefs around aging in the elderly. What are you thinking if you see someone who is old? Do you feel positive? Do you feel negative? How do you feel about, mistreatment of elderly? Hopefully you feel outraged, but what else does it make you think of? So the first part is to actually actively work on checking your beliefs and then changing them. We don't want to be sick and miserable when we're elderly, do we? So we need to start now actually focusing on that as being a positive time of having purpose and some value and worth, even if it's only stuff that we're feeling internally. So, the fact is we can work towards trying to change, this attitude towards aging in society, but we can start with ourselves first. Age is just a number, and you can determine how you think about age. All right, so the next thing, I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story around this. How do you actually see yourself when you think about aging? Do you have a particular picture? I know that when I actually hit my early 40s, particularly when I hit perimenopause, when it's like, I'm now getting old, I really got this negative picture of me being an old person, because I'd see, old people, I don't know, was obviously just my focus, but I was always seeing old people who are kind of hobbling around or in wheelchairs, looking really frail, really sick, all that kind of thing. And I used to go, oh, wow, what would it be like if that was me when I was old? And I'd actually see myself in them. That's not a good thing, okay? Because whatever you're imagining is what you're kind of going to head towards. That's sort of the way your unconscious mind works with things. So, I built up this great fear around aging, this view of myself as just being, a really unhealthy, unhappy person. Maybe I saw, perhaps a bit of one of my grandmothers in it. She had dementia. And it was not a good view. And at the time, I was not very healthy. I was overweight. I was so unfit. It was a laugh. And I would often say to myself, oh, man, I feel like I'm about 90. So that didn't help either. I just had this self-fulfilling prophecy almost that I'd set up for myself. So I actually had to, and this happened when I actually changed how healthy I was and how I was living my life. I actually changed the picture of what I wanted to be as I aged into something that was much more healthy and positive, saying, when I'm getting older, I want to keep on being fit. I want to keep on doing all sorts of positive things and getting out and doing stuff. Now, the other thing that is kind of recommended is to actually look out for positive stories of people aging and achieving amazing things. So it could be, the amazing person who's lived a long life and is really happy and jolly and quite healthy. You look at them and you go, wow, they're really 100, are they? Think about how you can age well. An example which maybe fits, maybe doesn't, because it's talking about someone who's 50, but today 50-year-old Phil Mickelson became the oldest, I hope I've got this right, the oldest major champion in golfing history, because he won the US PGA Championship. And he had people cheering him on. And I'm going, wow, that's good. That's a bit of a change. But look for things like that. Someone who has unexpectedly achieved stuff, even though they're now, kind of in that second half of their life when everything's supposed to be going downhill. Doesn't have to be. Change the way you think about it. All right? Don't allow this anti-aging type attitude that we have around us to dictate how you think about your aging. Remember, age is just a number. You make the choices about how you live your life. So think positively and create a really strong personal vision of you in old age where you're positive and you're healthy. So doing all of those things will actually help you to become that vision. So, let's face it, we can't determine how long our life is going to be, but we can certainly do the best we can to live the best life that we can for as long as we can. Who knows how long that is? You might end up being the 100-year-old person who's featured on TV looking bright and amazing, and people are going, wow, are they really 100? That'd be cool, wouldn't it? Or you might not. But if you've lived a life where you've felt that you've, been positive and healthy and you've faced everything in life in a really great way, then no one can take that away from you, can they? All right. So that's where I'm going to leave it today. A little bit to think about. It was a bit of a heavy topic, but take on board some of my suggestions. They really will help if you are struggling, as I used to, with the whole idea of aging. It can be an amazing time in our life. So thank you for joining me. I have also put into the comments there a link to the Magic of Midlife Facebook group. So this is a free private group where we celebrate being at midlife and also getting ready for aging. So I'm going to leave it there because it looks like I'm about to be invaded by my kitten. So thank you for joining me. Hopefully I can see you next week for another episode of Super Aging. Bye for now.